Hello, welcome back. This is one of my favorite stories to tell ever. It is another traveling story, lots of huge lessons that I've learned while traveling. And the reason it's one of my favorites is because my whole life I had this one big dream. I wanted to go to the island where Mamma Mia was filmed, and that's Skopelos. And that's one of the islands. There's a few, but my whole life that's what I wanted to do. And finally, when I turned 18, I made that a reality. I went to the island where it was filmed. I went to the spot where they had the wedding scene where they walk up all those stairs. And after doing that, I realized that the dream that I was searching for was the person that I was becoming. And so I'm so excited to talk about it because I feel like we are all chasing all of these things, and then along the way, we realize that the person that we're choosing to be to achieve those dreams is actually what we were after the entire time. So without further ado, let's get into it. This story is one of the biggest examples of the most amazing things are the things that are hardest to get to, the things that require a lot of struggle, the things that really, really challenge and test us. Because I can tell you for sure, Skopelos was the most challenging location that I ever had to get to, first of all, but second of all, exist on, like the island itself, because there was just so many different things that happened. And this is even including me landing in London first day of my 4-month backpacking trip and not being able to use my phone, being told that I had to send it back to the US. Like, Skopelos tops that by miles and miles. So basically, what happened was Greece is already a more difficult place to travel in Europe than a lot of the other places that I went to. So how I was going to get to Skopelos was I was going to take a 8-hour bus ride from Athens to Volos, stay in Volos for a night, then the next morning take a 5-hour ferry to the actual island, and then do a 40-minute hike up to the Airbnb. So that was the original plan. That is not at all how it went. So what happened was I got on the bus just fine. I made it to Volos. I made it to my hotel, got on the ferry. All of that was very normal. That first part of the trip, great. Then I actually got to the island and I was freaking out. When I tell you I am the biggest Mamma Mia fan, nerd, fanatic that I know, or that I know exists, it's huge, right? So I get there, and I keep in mind I'm backpacking. So I have all of my stuff in a backpack. I have another bag that goes over my shoulder, and all of this together is probably 50, 60 pounds. So it's not a light load. It's also 90 degrees outside. And I don't know if you know this, but Greece is very hilly. So all of the roads there look like this. I'll try to put a picture in if I figure out how to edit it in there by the time I'm posting this video. But I don't know if you'll see that. But if it's not there, just trust me, the stairs are like this. And the pathways and the walkways are like that. So the combination of all of those things, it was already going to be a hike and a workout. But I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's only a 40-minute walk. And yes, it's going to be uphill, but I can handle it. I was so wrong. I was so very wrong about that. So I get there, I start making my trek. I make it 5-10 minutes maybe, and I'm like, I literally physically can't do this anymore. I was so scared that I was gonna pass out. So I stop at this hotel that I see people going to. Keep in mind, I haven't seen very many car driving roads since I got there. It's mostly just walking paths, and that makes sense because it's an island. And I decide I'm gonna call a taxi service. So I call them, and the first one said that they couldn't do it. There was no cars. And then the second one couldn't locate where I was at. I didn't have a good enough marker, and I tried to tell him the hotel, and he was like, well, I don't know where that is, but just tell the hotel to call you a taxi. And I was like, but I'm not staying at the hotel. I'm just waiting at the hotel. And also there was already so many people going in there that I wasn't sure if they'd be able to accommodate me anyway. So I'm sitting there outside of this hotel, and I see this girl and this guy roll up in their vehicle. And I was like, that's a nice looking vehicle you got there. So I wait for them to come back out, and I never do this. Keep in mind, I am such a safe traveler. I am so cautious about everything because as a young solo female person in a foreign country, my safety is number one priority, right? So I never do this. But there was a girl in the car and I'm like, I'm assuming it's a girlfriend, so I'm assuming they're trustworthy. Also, it's an island. What are they gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, they can't make a great escape with me into the water. So I was like, I'll be fine. So I asked him when he comes back out, I was like, hey, do you speak English? And he was like, yeah. And he was like really suspicious of me, which I completely understand. And I was like, is there any way you can give me a ride to my Airbnb? It is so far uphill and I'm walking with all of this stuff and I don't have a car. And he was like, let me go check with my girlfriend real quick. And I was like, awesome, great, sounds perfect. Anyway, he drove me to the top, and this is, I don't know, I want to say about hour and a half, 2 hours after the ferry docked at the port, right? So it's been some time. It's well past the 40 minutes it was supposed to take me to walk up there. And so he drops me off. I try to tip him. He says no. He's like, just have a great trip. We might see you around the island. It's a small island. And I was like, oh my gosh, you and your girlfriend have so much fun. And he was like, thank you. And he left, right? And oh my gosh, I was so unbelievably thankful that he drove me, because I'm not kidding. When I tell you near the top, the roads were like this, like the car was struggling to get up them. They were so steep. So I get up there and I walk down into the Airbnb, right? And I notice there's a pool. And I'm like, in the photos of the Airbnb, there was not a pool. But there's a pool here. That's weird. So I'm standing there with all of my stuff. There's a person inside the Airbnb watching TV. And I was like, well, maybe that's the host. I don't know. And so I call the host and I'm like, hey, I'm right here. Another very important part of the story is there were so many bees. And when I tell you the bees were like that big, and they were landing on me, and I am terrified of bees, but I was like, literally, I just sensorily just like shut them out, because I was like, I need to figure out this situation, because it had already been such a long couple of travel days. I call her and I'm like, hey, I'm here. And she's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm by the pool. And she was like, I don't have a pool. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I went where the map location on Airbnb sent me, so I don't know. I don't know. And then she starts yelling at me, and she's like, no, like, you put in the wrong one. I put in the correct one on Airbnb. It's your fault, like, da-da-da. And I was so scared that she was going to be like, you can't stay here anymore, because she was so mad. Like, she was yelling at me. And so I was just trying to be placating. I was like, okay, like, I'm sorry, my bad. I put in the wrong one. Can you give me something else that I can navigate to that's close by, so that like we can meet up and you can walk me to the Airbnb? And she gave me a location, and it was 30 minutes back downhill in a different direction. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So I was trying so hard not to cry, and this is where I feel like I had the first really big breakthrough of this little adventure that I was on. I was like, I want to break down. I want to sit here and cry and stomp my feet and be like, this sucks, this isn't fair, but I realized that I had a decision to make. I was like, this situation is so ridiculous, but again, I need a place to sleep tonight, right? Like, I can be mad at the world for putting me in this situation, or I can realize how absolutely ridiculous and hilarious it is and make the best of it. And also, having a better outlook about it makes it a lot easier to get to the destination to start with, right? Because if I'm having a mental breakdown, if I'm having a panic attack, then I'm going to stall a lot more than if I were to just take a couple deep breaths, figure out something else to divert my attention. So what I started doing, I kid you not, what I did is I pulled up on my phone, I had saved songs, and one of them was, I would walk 500 miles. So I played that and I was like jamming out to it. I was like walking on beat and singing that so loudly, and the other was Follow the Yellow Brick Road. So I was singing both of those, and I was walking and I was doing this, like literally like moving my shoulders like this and singing it, and I was laughing so hard by the end of it. And so it turned out to be a really fun adventure, and I literally started thinking about, so a lot of what I think about now to help change my perspective from this sucks to this is kind of a hilarious situation is I envision myself telling the story to other people while it's still happening to me. So I was envisioning how funny it was going to be to tell other people about it while it was happening. That really helped put things in perspective for me. So the best part of it was I met up with her, she walked me to the door, she gave me the key, and she said, go look on the balcony. It's so beautiful. And I was like, okay, sounds good. So I walk out onto the balcony, and what I see literally right in front of me, less than 5 minutes away, is the port that I came in that morning, where I was 5 hours prior, before this whole mess happened. 5 minutes. It literally was a 5-minute walk from the port. And I made it 5 hours. So I just want to say I'm talented. Thank you so much. It required a lot of skill. So it's ridiculous. It's so silly. And then, so that was the really funny part of the story. And then the next day, I was so traumatized, and I was like, I do not want to leave this room, because another thing that happened is I was just trying to navigate to get some groceries, like some food, and I got lost on the way back, and it took me another like half hour to find where the Airbnb was again, because all of the roads looked the same. Like, again, if I can figure out how to add some to the screen, I will do that. But if not, just believe me, they all look identical, at least to me, a foreigner. So I got lost then. So I was really terrified the next day to go back out into all of this. I had a decision to make, though. The whole reason I was even traveling in the first place was because I was so inspired by Mamma Mia and by how freeing it looked to travel, to find yourself, to have all these crazy adventures. But I was so scared to leave. But I mustered up the courage. I called a taxi company. I arranged for them to take me over, because it was like maybe an hour and a half away from where I was staying, like the cliff, the Mamma Mia cliff where they got married in the movie. But I did it. I went out. I sobbed like a baby. When I was there, I walked up all the steps and I stood on top, and it was beautiful. I was not expecting it to be so beautiful. So that was a point during the trip that I feel like I grew more than any other point. And yes, it was a massive self-growth trip in general. And there were a lot of different points where I learned a lot of different things. But that was a point where I was like, this has been my dream for so long. And in coming here, yeah, it was kind of a miserable experience, but the person I became when I came here and I faced these challenges and I figured them out, that is more than I could have ever dreamed of. That person is the reason I was drawn to Mamma Mia in the first place. That person that I became, somebody who could figure things out, who could laugh through something so overwhelming and overstimulating and scary, and come out the other side with a story. And so that was something that really taught me to not take the challenges that we face so seriously, because they give us such good stories. And we really can decide, is this going to make me bitter? Is this going to make me break down? Is this going to make me hate Greece? Or is this going to make me laugh my booty off so many times when I tell it to all these different people, because it's so ridiculous? Like, is it gonna make me blame other people and say this situation sucks and feel bad for myself the rest of the time that I was there? Or realize, oh my gosh, this gave me such an incredible opportunity to connect with people by telling them this story, and to really understand the power that I have within myself to accomplish things and to make it through things. And so I just think that that's something that's really cool that challenges can teach us. And I think it was so fitting that it happened on the island that the entire trip was about. That island was the hardest location to do anything on. I faced more challenges in the 48 hours that I was there than I did most of the rest of the trip. And so it's just pretty incredible. And so I wanted to share that with you guys, because maybe somebody is going through something really hard right now and a perspective shift would be useful. And I'm not saying don't honor your feelings, because obviously your feelings are incredibly valid. It's just, you get to decide, what kind of person does this make me? You get to decide if you find it funny and hilariously ridiculous and use it as something to connect with other people about, because I think that's something that challenges do as well, is they allow us to connect so beautifully with other people. So yeah, anyway, thank you for being here for, I think this is going to be the third video. I hope I have learned how to edit a little better. But yeah, thank you for being here. I look forward to talking with you soon. Bye!